Yeah, the scoring guidelines has no mention of continuity.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, so part B, I think pretty straightforward. As long as we know average value theorem, we can just put place A and B with 0 and 5, and the rest can just go into our calculator. Make sure we're doing L of t, not E of t, right? We want to find the rate at which fish is leaving. So part C is where we're going to involve that formula for rate in, rate out. The idea that, well, let's first read part C. At what time is the greatest number of fish in the lake? So we know that there's a need for extreme value theorem application here because we see greatest, right? If we see greatest or least, that should be a indication that we have to go through our candidates test. We have to test our endpoints and our critical points. And the way we get to our critical points is we have to find the derivative and set equal to 0. But to get to the derivative, we have to first create the equation. So here's the equation that we can build to represent the number of fish in the lake. So total amount equals initial plus amount added minus amount removed. In this case, I think we should have to assume that there's no fish in the lake. There's any statement about how many fish in the lake there is. So we should assume it's 0. They don't tell us anything. And then the amount added, the number of fish added, is the integral of E of x. And then the number removed, or number who left the lake, fish leaving the lake, is integral of L of x. And if I want to find the derivative of that starting point, then I can make it derivative of f of 0, which is 0, the derivative of the integral, which is just going to be that remaining function E of x or E of t. And then if we find the derivative of the integral, that's going to strip away that integral and just leave us with L of t. And if my derivative is E of t minus L of t, I can simply graph this E of t minus L of t in my calculator and look for the x-intercept. And that's going to be my critical point. That will be a time that I want to test to plug back into the f of t equation to see when the most number of fish is going to occur. So we're going to test 0. We'll test 6.2, which is what you're going to find in your calculator. And then we'll test 8 as well, because they say from 0 to 8. So we have 3 points to test: 0, 6, and 8. And then we have to put it into this equation that we built, f of t. Let me know if you have any trouble with any calculator steps, or you want me to go over anything more in more detail. Okay, so between 0, 6.2, and 8, the most number is going to, the largest number is going to be 135. So we can say the greatest number of fish is 135 at t equals 6.2. Part D says, is the rate of change in number of fish increasing or decreasing? So we see the need for the rate of a rate. So we know the rate of change is at the f prime level. So if it's asking about the whether that rate is increasing or decreasing, we got to get to the f double prime level. F double prime is just E prime minus L prime. Now, this isn't, I just thought of this. This isn't foolproof, but a lot of times on FRQs, they like to tie in the previous part and build it into the next part. So maybe use that as context clues. If you're stuck looking at a part C or part D and you don't know where to start, look at the previous part. Maybe there's some connection that we can draw between the previous part. I mean, it's not, that's not always going to be true, but I think that's always good to just to think about. Also, I thought of this as well. This is this is kind of like an oversimplification, and there's definitely not a true statement in every case, but enough cases where I think it's interesting to note that. Also, I think I was reading through a calculus review guide, review sheet, and one thing that one thing that they said is whenever you're in doubt, take the derivative. I don't think that's, there's a lot of holes in that statement, but it's more often true than not, right? That's most everything, even even if we're talking about integral, there's always going to be there's usually something that involves the derivative. So I think that'll be a good tip for my AB students. Sometimes I see them just plugging in value without doing anything calculus wise, but I think more often than not, there's some derivative process going on. So if you're stuck not knowing what to do, at least consider that. Consider, maybe a derivative can help get me to the next, can help me move forward in this problem. Okay, any question with page 21? Okay, page 22. Finally, a polar problem that shows up. Pretty rare, but we want to be comfortable enough where if we see it on this year's exam that we feel comfortable enough to make progress. Be right back. It's still your conversation. It's how we get some hours here to.
Is it? I can only see it is.
I understand what you're saying,
Why not?
and I do not understand this. I understand more.
Yeah. Wait, are you, it's about part C? Yeah, I am so confused with part C. Right now, it worked.
Yeah, I want to get a job or something. Next summer,
But I didn't know that.
That's what, that's what I'm saying.
I don't want to do it.
what about the salary?
She said they put
3 weeks.
another splits it.
Somebody go judge for this kind of kid. Oh, boy, that could be fun.
I don't know, like,
Doesn't really, you know? Bro, no, that's hard. No. You know, how there's not like a lot of, yes, no. It is a. It's a. Well, yeah. Summer.
It's like more clear.
And you're there with us. Like, pay like, it's $6, you're like $200. I'm like 100% sure it's a. Yeah. It's like. Okay.
like,
I said, you the long ago.
About
why I'm-
Tanya.
so I am like, I'll configure.
But I heard that was the thing.
Back it up. By the way, it's like.
Yeah, they're all. Oh,
This is, it's.
It's
Just down.
It's like that. Nope.
If we bring.
It's like, what?
It's not all that.
I think I asked that on your applications. Yeah, so by January 3rd. When did you get your
You were finally.
January 2nd, I think.
There.
This year? Shut up. Yeah, guys.
If you apply through Commonwealth, it will automatically send it. They can see where you applied.
So it's just, so I don't need to do anything.
And if you complete the senior exit survey, see where you're going, they just send it.
If you just check like the sent file for.
Actually,
All that. Where is it? Like,
Joe, who
where
are
you
you?
apply for
He
this?
said that you don't even need that, that they'll just send it.
So they just.
Wait, do you understand?
Just.
I'm actually scared this.
If you can like stay, I can get it.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. So I just need to.
I'm pretty sure.
One phone number, that's the thing.
That's what she said. She works there. So.
I needed a physics from that.
Oh,
wait, part C.
Part C.
I think.
I get access to the return like minutes nine.
Okay.
Oh, what?
That would be great, thank you.
I've been. Yes. Should we be asking that? Yeah, I mean, this fall, her song.
So basically what you have to
I
do
don't, don't worry about it.
is you have to set the integral such that the area, first you have to find the data at which the area is divided by
That
10.
made me.
Right? Then once you find that data, you're gonna take the tangent of that data, you get the function.
Okay.
Then you build a line based on.
We keep you out of this class, but it's not.
You guys care.
I see what you're saying.
It's not actually here, this year.
That's not.
I'm scared. It was off the church.
Like, he was
That's
like.
actually
I was like, he was like a.
everything.
You look at mine, it's like, all a good time.
I was pretty. That's pretty.
Oh, it was.
The
Oh, the other side.
500.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I tried going to which takes a long time.
You're not here.
I know, but I need to get another.
That looks so bad.
This year, yeah.
We need another.
So I'm just- Yeah, like I wrote out the integral instead of writing the words, but I feel like you're like, I feel like there's an extra 1/2 on the answer, so I kind of understand where you get the second.
There's
half.
enough teachers.
Oh, this, the top one, part C.
Because that, the integral inside of the bracket would equal 1/2 the area of region S, right? I don't know what the second 1/2 is.
If I'm going from 0 to inverse tangent of M, that's gonna take me to this halfway point.
Yeah. And that alone would equal half the area of region S, right?
Right. Yeah, let me check. I don't know why I put that 1/2 there.
Doesn't the area formula already have like a built-in one half, so you have to count it again to get?
Well, but you know this on 1/2.
Oh, but I know, I get what you're saying, it's the balance.
Wait, it's actually, I'm telling you, bro, if I see this for FRQ, bro, they're.
I think it works.
It's just fine. I'm not.
Hold on, let me look.
You see polar graphs, bro. I think that's the type of.
The tangent, the arcane, and it's not just data halfway, right?
It's already, yeah, this.
This series is like crucial. I don't
know how you're doing.
Just.
Oh, fish, I feel like we need a pipe.
I want.
He gets that.
Monday. Last week.
I think it's exactly what to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Give us like, if you give us. Like, if you give us. It's literally.
You say it's fine, but that's for human. I could.
Theory stuff.
The linear momentum.
That's what it
That's why it's like.
When I walked out, I got everything wallet.
I hope I got this. I was like,
I guess name is.
yeah, it makes sense.
Spike. You just had to make sure the displacement of like
It's like graph.
like the area under the graph was on.
Congratulations.
Now this thing,
Monday's.
That's getting out one more.
You just gotta make sure you can tell which waves.
I mean, you got it.
I like to do it all perfectly, and then he's gonna find some like, there's gonna be he always does that.
I'm just.
I'm so mad.
depending on where you wanna go, like.
It's free until
That's
about
already
5 AP.
55 on Elon. Because I've heard like at least one at two items, it's a lot.
Genuinely.
So everyone is told that you get a
I
five.
don't know, that's the biggest loss. I'm really upset about it.
I've been studying.
The most.
I should have split my APs up, one freshman, one sophomore, 5 tests.
Because all type of, yeah, they're gonna take your money. But it's also you can type out, but yeah, fine.
Yes, yes, that's the concept, right? You just take the, but you don't take the report, you just.
But I'm technically trying to. Is that bad? It's not bad.
Should watch out.
That's, I wanna just take a budget AP exams and I don't know, it's like
See where.
Wait, I am doing public service. Yeah, I'm doing a public service.
Just public.
Is it a minus?
Okay, guys, thanks for pointing that out. I think I need to revise what I did for C. So we know that the entire region S starts at 0 and it ends at root pi. Okay, we're good with that. All right, that's the entire area. So and we know half the area of region S would be integral of 1/2 from 0 to inverse tangent of m r theta squared. All right, we're good with that. So if so we just say this, then one way to do this is we know that, well, this is the full area of S. If I halve that, then that should be equal to the integral from 0 to inverse tangent of m of r squared theta. So I think, yeah, sorry, this is not correct. I should create an equation that gives me either I double this or I half the entire area, but either way, I need to create an equation where they're both equal to each other.
How are you gonna find like tangent latitude?
Right, how do we know to, involve, inverse tangent? Well, we know theta two, well, we know that whatever this line is, right, that line is going to be, we know that tangent of theta is equal to y over x, right? We know that's where that line is, okay? And so wherever that, let's see, wherever that line is, let's see, y over x. Okay, positive slope m. So my positive slope is just same thing as y over x, right? So I can represent that m the same thing as y over x. And if I know that tangent of theta equals y over x, and I know that y over x is my slope, which they tell us is to use m, then to solve for theta, theta must be inverse tangent of that.
Oh, for D, I don't understand.
Right, part D, okay. So, let's say we have a circle, k cosine theta, and k keeps increasing. So, you can try this out in your calculator in terms of, you know, what does 4 cosine look like? What does 20 cosine look like? What does 50 cosine theta? What does 100 cosine theta look like?
Keeps increasing.
It keeps increasing and increasing. And eventually this circle will be large enough where it's going to eventually enclose the entire first quadrant and fourth quadrant. Right, it's eventually going to get steeper and steeper. And so everything up to root pi will be covered. Sorry, everything up to pi over 2 will be covered from region S.
Okay.
For region S. So eventually, that circle will cover this entire area from 0 to pi over 2. Now, we know that from pi over 2 to root pi, this third quadrant will still be left untouched because the circle will never bleed into the second quadrant. Yeah.
So like. So then what is like for, so like as it like gets larger and larger?
Say again?
So like the limit is for like as it gets larger and larger, what is the area of S?
Exactly. What's the area of S from 0 to pi over 2?
How is it pi to pi over 2?
Because if we go to root pi, the root pi is going to bleed into that second quadrant. So pi over 2 is from here, I'll highlight it, from here to here, stops there. Right. We basically are able to find the area of region S without that sliver in the second quadrant. Because the circle will never touch that region.
It'll never go in second quadrant.
It won't, right?
Okay.
So if we look at k cosine theta, that circle will always be in the first and fourth quadrant.
But how do you know, like, how do you come up with pi over 2? Or it could have been like pi over 6, or it could have been like pi. So therefore.
Well, if you look at this region S, when is region S going to be in quadrant 1? From 0 to pi over 2.
So it's just create a table of values to see.
Yeah. Because, well, also we know that this curve is fanning out counterclockwise, right? So it's building out this way. And then when it hits pi over 2, that's when it hits that y-axis. And after that, then it starts moving into, 2 pi over 3 and things like that.
Yeah, when you explain from that perspective, it makes sense. But then like other problems, it looks like it's pi over 2, but it's actually like pi over 6.
high subfloor area problem.
If I were to, we should be able to know, it's where it touches the y-axis. Okay. I mean, if it's over here, right, you can't say, oh, that's 5%, that's 5%, that's hard to tell. They would expect you to know that when they touch the y-axis, that's 5%.
So the Lima signs are.
Maybe, sometimes if you have like arcs that are like circles, it doesn't look like it's ending, yeah, you're right, sometimes if you have a graph that's like this, like, it's like, oh, all right, no, that's right, I'm here too. Sometimes I don't know, but if the graph is doing this, that's gotta be 5%.
Oh.
Right, but if it's, but yeah, it's hard to hear, I don't know exactly where that point is, I know eventually we'll end up at 5%, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, all those acid based products.
Okay. Okay.
They're basically, you know, and based on the rate, you know, so I know it's all the ways you do it. As well. You know, it's exactly what it's going. Wondering what things in the party are only like women understand it. Yeah, all the goes from you like age 30.
Is it not this one?
Exactly, never going past.
Let's say that.
Yes, but Jalen just explained it never quantitatively. I thought it was mine, just watching, always a thing. But the most like short, why? If you imagine a circle for it's like. What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, so for.
I remember you told me that, like, I gotta do it. I get, see, you see, I know. Like, all right, bro, like, no story.
It's fine. Yeah, the sign's still good. It's still for
Negative, it's just.
I'm just saying.
He was like, never gonna cross the line. But I tell you, I'm gonna do basically, goes, and he goes, it's just deeper and safe. That's why.
You're arguing that. Like a smaller, like. Why is it now?
Oh, you're asking this year. Like when we did the unit graphs, so they had all those practice FRQs, were those FRQs taken from exams or?
Yes, yeah, I took them from,
Particularly.
yeah,
Those other ones were not.
well, it's not right, yeah. Yeah, this feel more. But the nice thing about this is that it's calculated, so you can draw these graphs out and get more.
But how, it's not like.
You don't need.
Actually, wait, yes.
You don't like counting the aspects.
Yeah.
That's why.
No.
I feel like I know everything. Yes. The formula. They're trying to get out of our nice natural. FRQ. Okay, but one
Oh my God.
I just like taking. I thought like.
Near the end of the spirit.
Okay, yeah, I can go that
Okay. It's like in a parallel. I thought there was.
Yeah, yeah. You guys
Well,
are
it's just like.
one after
Full charge. Yeah, yeah, I realized that.
What did you kill?
That's why. That had the one. Then. Yeah, like, well, they wouldn't do like just toy, you know, like. No, I know, I've seen like in general.
It should be one half, it should be one half. Yeah, but this is now my adjusted equation. I should not be doing this, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you do that, you know that you're good. I made a mistake.
I said it was like. It was like, oh wait, no, I did get that one.
Oh,
Because I said that the voltage drop across the parallel resistor was like 600 over 3.
Time sheets.
Yeah, but the other one, like it was, one of them was a resistor, and one was a resistor and an inductor, and then one was the inductor. Yeah, and so the voltage drop across one was a resistor and inductor. Obviously, it has to be like 600 over 3, but when there's no current, then the resistor doesn't have a drop in the inductor does. So somehow, even though there's sort of this trick, the inductor is 600 over 3, the full voltage inductor.
Wait, I thought they asked for the, I thought they just asked me, what's your? So then you just find the voltage drop in 1%, and then you just apply that same voltage. Like, well,
I think the one like parallel branch just has that has current. But then there's signs of,
yeah.
and then of course it has to be the voltage drop. But you can ignore this another pre violation.
Yeah, sure.
No, I mean, that'd be fine, but because there's no current. The resistor has a voltage drop, but for some reason the inductor.
You should.
So the only thing I was
thinking is
that
one.
Like, if there wasn't. It was all, I was. You're actually on like. Or something. I'm not worried about it.
No, no, it's really.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Yes, you did that.
No, I was like,
I don't understand, like, so that means. I don't think we're- It would be easier for like. That's not gonna buy.
Yeah.
Like, don't really. Well, it kind of makes
I
sense.
ran out of time on the multiple choice.
Like, if you
I
have
didn't
enough
feel like the last
batteries in
thing
the
on it.
battery, right?
Are you letting me get on the back of the nice?
Like, and if you start.
I'm going to
Turn
teach you.
zero. The auto has a decision to read.
It's
like a battery with its current. So it's generating a factor.
Yeah.
But it may be.
In lit.
Thank you.
Thermostat.
Yeah, one fucking test. I don't know. Give me some number.
I don't know. I don't even. Wait, probably.
Yeah.
Which one would pop?
I really.
Did you get it wrong?
I got 100 on the second.
I want to see.
I got X equals negative 3.
I've been going on the first one.
How did I?
No.
I'll be on one. So I had negative pi. I had negative pi plus. Which one is it?
Time sheet is like.
Because
It's on the second C board.
Yeah.
they're greater than negative pi.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what'd you say?
I wanted to see.
Yeah, that's right.
And I got.
Put on this multiple.
Oh, so.
That's one question.
Hey guys, come get your phones.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll wait, no, one
Where's
person.
the one?
Maybe I did. That's some zeros.
Hey, I got 19 out of.
No, you didn't. I get it.
Okay.
I would just.
Yeah, maybe I didn't.
Took the answer.
That's crazy.
This one, I didn't know.
No way I got it.
Yeah. It's not good.
I really don't know what one was.
Also, hold on, look at the answer choice. Oh, there should be.
That's the 7 wrong.
I got one on
It's, this, yeah, this, probably, they don't want, they want to explain to you that, I know. I don't know my sense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got that.
Wait, did you die?
I got two.
How is that?
This is just my graduation.
Thank you. That's.
It's like so.
Because it's different. It's the same curve. You can't just compare them unless it's first continuous.
Why did we listen to our conditions? Why did, like, when we do our conditions, why do we say it's continuing?
They do want to.
That's a question. Yeah, good question.
This one.
Oh, I think, okay, I think I know why. Because mean value says it's gotta be continuous.
The LNA on the close execute. I could have easily.
And then
done it.
printable.
I couldn't have also, I got it there.
So it's gotta be smooth curve between A and B,
Exactly.
but then it's gotta exist at once. So the continuity is just to take care of how do you of this. Because it's different guaranteed between A and B, but it's.
I have a question about this, like, how are you supposed to do, like,
Dude, I was cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's one of the hard.
Both.
Oh my god. I don't remember how I messed it up, but.
Okay, so you don't have to do piecewise. I think the thing is to know that if we're doing an alternating series, my A sub n plus one, but after A sub n plus one, it must be greater than my A sub n. And we see that's not true here. 1/9 is not, 1/9 is not greater than. Every term needs to be decreased.
Yeah.
oh,
And it's, yeah, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at this. I recognize.
He says first thing on how you. You said that's the exact same
I
thing.
think both of them individually by giving series.
So you activate like.
But I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, so it's for the alternating series. Let's start with this series. And the alternating series says that by A sub n plus one, after an A sub n must be less gas. So the next term, I see that this one right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Every weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Don't let's go, guys. Wait, wait.
No, man, yeah.
Rose, I just want to do something like say, we're gonna start 30 start, right?
What?
Oh, no, no.